Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Rock Motor City Madmouth, and glad to have Rick Curti and Mel Farr, my Thursday co-host. Good evening, fellas.
Good
Hey,
evening.
good evening, Scott.
All right, I'll tell you what. Ready to talk a little bit of football and maybe a little bit of NBA basketball?
Sure. Bring it on.
All right, well, I'll bring it on. We'll bring it on with a very enigma character here. Why am I saying enigma? Because he is when you talk about NFL circles anyways. And that the Seattle Seahawks are among teams interested in Antonio Brown. Mel Farr, is this guy worth the trouble?
Seattle offensively is not really where they need help. They need some help on the defensive side of the ball. They're giving up a lot of yards per game defensively. I would think that if he could play, if he could rush the passer or something like that, then I'd say, yeah, definitely go ahead and he's worth it and go ahead and sign him. But, my concern with him is, and I guess him and Russell Wilson and Geno have the backup quarterback have some sort of relationship. But my concern would be him infecting the young receivers on the team, affecting their attitudes. All of a sudden, they think they can be a diva like Antonio Bryant is, and that would be a problem for me. I like the locker room chemistry that I have right now. So for me, if it were me, it wouldn't be worth it to me, because offensively, really, is not where they need any help.
Right. We got Pete Carroll, who seems to soothe egos pretty well, and if he decides to get into the Antonio Brown, he's going to have to soothe that one, because this one here has been a problematic wherever he's gone. He had a great situation. If you can't play for Mike Tomlin, Mel, you can't play for anybody.
And that's a good point. That's an excellent point.
Rick?
Oh, God, I can't believe Seattle would actually think about doing this. There's something wrong with this man. I don't know if he's got CTE or, his behavior is so off the wall. It's so bizarre. It's so strange. I have no idea what has happened with him. He was such a great wide receiver, and ever since he got that hit from Perfect, he has been acting weird. And, he can't stay with the team. He goes and does these weird, bizarre social media rants. I remember when he got released from Oakland, he's like running around happy that he was free, whatever that meant. Right. And, of course, he burned his bridges. He's just burned too many bridges. Mm-hmm. And, to me, he's just a head case, and I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I tend to think he's more trouble than he's worth, too. You want to talk about dysfunctional? Yeah, I wouldn't. But you know what? There are teams that feel like they're missing that one playmaker away. And if the talent is high, then there's no question that at times teams will take a chance on him. How many chances has Josh Gordon got?
20, 30, 40.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Josh Gordon has had more lives than Morris had, by the way. So if anybody knows anything about 9 lives and Morris, then you're talking Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon. So they're drinking, as Curti would say, the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Let's go from another guy with a last initial name B, but this time the Baltimore Ravens are planning to add Dez Bryant to the practice squad. Well, why not? The practice squad is the practice squad, and they're actually have veterans on these practice squads where you have up to 16 players. So what does Baltimore have to lose, Mel Farr?
You said they just signed who to the practice squad?
They're talking about Dez Bryant.
Yeah, I did read that. I didn't think much about it, to be honest with you.
Well, until I brought it up and informed you, right, Mel?
Right. I read about it, and I just didn't really think about it much. Dez is what, in his early 30s, I guess, right now.
Right.
And, he hasn't played football in quite some time. The last time he did play, he got hurt in practice.
Right, in New Orleans.
I just think that there's somebody that's a little bit closer within the last couple of years that you've had in camp that you could probably utilize that spot where you can actually develop that person to be a productive contributor later on, whether it be next season or the season after, as opposed to bringing back somebody like Dez Bryant, where what he is basically, but you also know that he's not who he once was. And, whoever, in 2016 or whenever he last played, he wasn't great when he last played. I mean, he
Right.
was falling off the cliff. His production was going down. He wasn't able to separate. And I don't think in being away from the game for the number of years that he's been away from the game, I don't think that he's gotten any faster. I don't think that he's he's going to be able to separate any better than he was then. So to me, I think they could probably they serve themselves better by not doing it.
Okay. Well, that's fair. Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's another Antonio Brown, another Josh Gordon, just a total head case kind of guy. I mean, it wasn't even when he was with Dallas, they had to have literally an escort for him to go outside because he couldn't behave himself, that he was going to strip clubs and he had to have a check-in time to come in at night. I mean, crazy stuff, and I just think he's very immature. And he's been out of the game for quite some time. And to me, he's more trouble than anything. But, I mean, they got him on a practice squad. They got him for dirt cheap pretty much. So
Right.
Why not? But I think you got to lay down the law and just tell him, look, man, you got to grow up and, stop acting like a fool. And you've been out of the NFL for quite some time. You talk about a decline. I mean, he was with Cowboys, and then all of a sudden, poof, he disappeared. And I haven't heard from him in quite some time. So would I sign him? No. But, I mean, if you can get him for dirt cheap and why not? But, maybe he could be a genie in a bottle for you. Who knows?
Well, you said it right there, Rick. He's not going to cost you a lot of money. The only way that he gets on the practice squad is here in 2020 where you're allowed veteran players on there. Otherwise, if you had a regular standard 10 to 12 player practice squad where you have first and second year players, it's another animal altogether. I don't have a problem with it myself because of the year that we're dealing with 2020. So, again, it's all comes on the almighty dollar. If it's a low risk situation, why not do it? You never know when you may need them, especially with all these outbreaks and when they can occur. So I think, you never know. Like you said, lightning in a bottle is what you're potentially looking at. So I think it's an everything to gain, nothing to lose proposition. All right, we're going to go to a different sport. Okay, Bubba Wallace is going to race in the number 23 car for Michael Jordan's team. I think, Rick, you're in that part of the country. You surprised at this move?
No, I think this is good for Michael Jordan. I think it's good to expand and if you're going to have a driver, then you're going to have someone like Bubba Wallace. I mean, to me, it makes perfect sense that he's with Jordan. I think the question is, how successful will Michael Jordan be? He hasn't really been too successful as an owner, in basketball, and hopefully he can kind of check that ego and want to win. And I think that's always been the issue with Jordan. So, I mean, he's a great basketball player, but a lot of these players do not make the best owners, and he has just made some horrible moves here ever since he's gotten ownership of the Hornets. I think changing that name back to the Hornets was probably one of the best things he's done. But I mean, as an owner, I have such concerns about it. But hey, going to NASCAR and branching and expanding your business, why not? I think it's great that he's doing this.
How about you, Mel?
I think it's great, for him to do it as well. Open this up. I think it's smart on both sides. Obviously, it's smart for NASCAR to invite him in because obviously they want to try to broaden their audience and invite, African Americans in to watch NASCAR. I've never been much of a NASCAR fan, watching cars go round and round in circles, but I know that some people have done very well at it and become pretty wealthy at it. I know Joe Gibbs did a great job with, in the racing circuit after leaving football. He was, did a real good job over there. And like Rick was saying, it hasn't been extremely successful as far as winning on the hardwood. Maybe this is something that, he's from that Tobacco Road area. So maybe this is something that he says he's been going, to these, been going to races for quite some time. So maybe this is something that he can be successful at, him, his name, and the expertise of all the other people around him. And I think it's great, for Bubba Wallace to have the opportunity finally to have some real sponsorship behind him so that he can just focus on being the best driver that he possibly can be. I mean, there's a lot of things that he's had to deal with that most drivers don't deal with. And, You know, a lot of guys don't have to worry, don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to be able to race next week. You know, they'll know they're racing next week. Bubba Wallace, and every time he's racing, he doesn't know if he's racing next week. This might be, it might be a couple of weeks before he gets out there because, just didn't have the sponsorship behind him. So it'll be nice to see what he can do, having a full sponsorship behind him, and see what he can do.
Well, I would think Richard Petty Racing, though, they've had pretty good sponsorship, and you couldn't really learn from a better person than Richard Petty, that's for sure. So if you're going to drive for anybody, obviously we're not talking about the multi-car teams, but Richard Petty runs a pretty good sound operation. But I think that this deal has been in the works for quite a while between Wallace and Jordan. So, it'll be interesting to see that pairing, that's for sure. And you're right, in terms of one thing that NASCAR definitely does need is more minority participation. Many years ago, when I had a radio show out in Arizona, I was ahead of my time, called Weekly Wheels. And I talked about the fact that NASCAR needed more diversity, and the problem that you had with a lot of African Americans were not able to afford auto racing because it's an expensive sport to get involved in. But, and obviously I think the sport has lacked in that area. But to see a guy like Bubba Wallace set and become a role model for young minorities is something that the sport desperately needs. And I think that pairing up with Michael Jordan, arguably one of the biggest success stories of all time, both not only in basketball, at least as a player. You're right, Rick. His ownership isn't overly that great, but nobody can knock what the guy's done on the floor in terms of being a minority basketball owner in basketball, at least being a minority owner. Only to carry it from the NASCAR. So, yeah, I think it's a good partnership between Wallace and Jordan. But with all due respect, I give Richard Petty a lot of credit for giving Bubba Wallace the opportunity to drive in the top circuit. I really, really do. All right, let's talk about the NBA targeting January 18th for next season start date as being opening night. Here's the key, folks. Okay, Rick and Mel, it's Martin Luther King Day. Is that the right day for the season to start? Is on Martin Luther King Day?
Yeah, my opinion, yeah. My dad, when I was, a long time ago, my dad always said the greatest way to honor Dr. King is by going to work. That's what he fought for, for us to have the same opportunities as everybody else. So, even when we were the largest African American business in the country, one thing that we did is to honor him, we went to work on Dr. King Day. And, so I think that's a great day for these guys to start the season. I think that's an absolutely great day. I mean, they can parlay it with a lot of different things, but I think that's a great day for them to get back to playing basketball.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're going to play on and honor somebody, it would have to be Dr. Martin Luther King, and I have no problems with it. Dr. Martin Luther King is one of the most inspirational people that we have in our lifetime. A man that believes in peace, nonviolence, something that we really need someone like that right now. And if there's a great day to play basketball or honor somebody, it would be Dr. Martin Luther King Day. So I think this is great for the NBA.
Yeah, I know that they play games historically on Martin Luther King Day, and many of them I've heard take place during the day as well as at night as well. I want to go back to the NFL for just a moment, all right? Mike McCarthy wants the Cowboys to handle things as men, not complain to the media. That, to me, he's 100% right. Where do these guys have the audacity to complain to the media and not be able to deal with the coaching staff? What does this league really come down to, Mel?
Yeah, I don't know. You got to be able to talk amongst one another. I mean, you got to be thick as thieves, tight as thieves. And, obviously nobody likes the situation that they're in right now. I mean, they're playing very, very poorly. They got a defensive coordinator that, hasn't been working in the last number of years. And I happen to remember Mike, when I got drafted by the Broncos, he was like, just starting his coaching career. And obviously he has, there's a lot of maybe some pressure because who his dad was and what his dad did with the 49ers organization and so forth and so on. But, in my opinion, Mike has, struggled as a defensive coordinator in this league. He's always gotten opportunities because of who he is, but he's always struggled. I was very surprised when they brought his name up. I was like, wow, I didn't even know he was still coaching. But yeah, you got to keep all these things. You got to keep them internal.
Right.
Talking to the media, that's not going to do anything. I mean, you want to be a man about it and talk to a man to man. Hey, let's all get together and let's try to fix this problem, because talking the media is not going to help anybody fix the problem. It's going to make it worse, if anything.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't like the anonymous stuff either. If you're going to go out there and talk to somebody, at least own it, okay? This anonymous stuff just doesn't get it done. It really doesn't, Rick.
I agree. This is not very good for the Cowboys or Cowboy fans. I think it's showing that there's a lot of internal problems in there. Maybe some of the people have not have tuned out Mike McCarthy. They've been playing horribly. People I know people are concerned about their offense. It's the defense that's the problem. Their defense is horrible. It's just they can't stop anybody. Look what the Cardinals did to them. The Cardinals look like the 85 Bears. I mean, they look phenomenal. And, the Cardinals to me, are not really, they're okay team. But, I mean, for the Cardinals to do that to the Cowboys was just, it was crazy. So it's not good. And I know Jerry Jones ain't happy. And I know I wouldn't be happy if I hear anonymous people. And I wish they would put their names on it and just come out and say, hey, Troy Aikman said this, or, hey, I'm said this, I'm saying that. But when you're being anonymous, not only being like a think behind their back, but you're actually being a coward at the same time. Just say who you are and just say, hey, I don't want to be here, and trade me. I mean, we've had so many players that go on social media and bash their coaches, and next day they're gone. So I mean, if that's what they're looking for, to get out of there and go somewhere else, do that. But just to be kind of a think and talk to the media and tell them all your dirty laundry going on, to me, I mean, it's bad. That's not a good sign for the Cowboy organization.
Yeah, I've always thought talking to the media to air out your dirty laundry to me is a bunch of baloney. It really is. Be a man. Okay, talk to the coach. You may get rid of you at some point anyways. If you're not good enough, they're going to make changes, and then you can say whatever you want after that fact. But while you're cashing a paycheck, keep your mouth shut and keep it out of the press. At some point, you're going to wind up out of there. The NFL doesn't tolerate this sort of behavior. And bear in mind, Mike McCarthy has a good track record. I know that he walked into a tough situation and, trying to get his footing on the ground, and losing Dak Prescott didn't help, but I think Andy Dalton's very capable. We'll get to the Cowboys later. But the whole point of this particular point is keep your stuff out of the media and deal with the coaches like men, as McCarthy would said. Now, back to the NBA. The draft will be held virtually from the ESPN studios. Surprise?
No, I think that's a good decision. I mean, with COVID-19 going out there and trying to restrict travel and things like that, I mean, I think it's the best that they can do. They could have done like the NFL and just done it like via satellite or something like, or Zoom or something like that. And it was a very interesting draft, but it really worked for them. So I'm not surprised by that. I mean, we have no idea COVID's gotten worse. It's been spreading it's been spreading here in North Carolina, just like in everywhere else. So, I mean, it's gotten worse. And so for them to have in the studios to restrict travel time, to me, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
Mel?
Yeah, I mean, the NBA is one of the leagues that got this thing right. They did it right. I mean, they didn't have any problems down there in the bubble. So you can't question, anything that the NBA is deciding to do. So obviously they've spent a lot of time and they thought about it, and this is the decision that they made. And I think it's a good decision. And I think everything will be great. The production portion of it, I'm sure it'll be great, just like the production was down there in the bubble in Orlando. So yeah, it's not only the right decision, but really it's the only decision they can make.
Well, ESPN's gotten it right with every single draft that they've conducted. Once upon a time, they were the first that dealt with the NFL draft, and they've done really well all the way around. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, again, COVID-19 speaks for itself. But you're right, Neil. They nailed it right with the NBA, with the bubble. And, what they were able to execute, to me, I thought was outright phenomenal. They definitely got this one right. All right, well, let's change the course a little bit here, but we're going to stay with the NBA, potentially being played in an old ABA city. I don't know if you've heard of this one, but the Louisville's arena, the KFC Yum Center, is an option to house the Toronto Raptors next season. Canada has recently extended the restrictions through November 21st. A little history about the area. I know Rick Curti loves to talk about history lessons. The Kentucky Colonels of the ABA played there from 1967 to 1976. And some of the three names that stand out are Dan Issel, Artis Gilmore, and Hubie Brown. Rick Curti, I know you like to talk about these old leagues. Those are three pretty good guys that played out in Louisville. And I was recently in Louisville and had a chance to see Colonel Sanders' grave as well as Muhammad Ali. So what are your thoughts about Louisville being a temporary city for the Toronto Raptors?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, it's we've seen this in baseball too with the Blue Jays in Buffalo. And there's been rumor going around that Louisville's been trying to get an NBA team for quite some time. So I think this would be a great showcase for that city to show people that, hey, we're an NBA team, and I know that Adam Silver has talked about possibly expanding, like maybe bringing Seattle back or maybe having a team in Las Vegas. I think Louisville would be a great place to have an NBA team personally. And it's a fast-growing city, and I think it kind of reminds me of New Orleans. I remember when they had to go to New Orleans had to leave because of the hurricane. They had to play and
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, in Oklahoma City, and their fans were outstanding. And I mean, it was like sold out every game. And I think that's what helped Oklahoma City get a team. Same thing could happen with Louisville. They have a great fan base and a great turnout and everything like that. And they want to expand. I think Louisville will be on that list of expansion if that's what they want to do. So I think it's a win-win situation for Louisville.
Well, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, if you're going to even consider a city like that, you bring back the Kentucky Colonel's name for that matter because of the history, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great for that region, great for the people of Kentucky. Obviously, it's a big basketball state there. So I think it'd be great for them. And obviously, again, that makes sense too with the travel restrictions that you're going to have, and with them they're not going to have a bubble next year. At least that's what they're talking about, is not having a bubble. And obviously, there's going to be travel restrictions outside of the country. So it only makes sense to bring them inside the country. And Louisville, that's a great city, great basketball city.
I would love to see the NBA go to Louisville. I would. I'd like to see it end up going to Seattle and Louisville. Forget about Vegas. Vegas has got plenty to do there. But Louisville, yes. Seattle, yes. I think those are ideal cities. I really, really do. All right, let's go back to the NFL. We're going to recap a little bit about last week, okay? And I have to go ahead and lead off with the Detroit Lions Jacksonville Jaguars game. I got to tell you, though, they did a really good job with the protocols up in Jacksonville. My temperature when I walked in the gate was 97.5. I had the mask on. I had my box lunch or whatever, and everything was went real well. And Matthew Stafford threw a touchdown pass against the Jaguars, and now he's thrown a touchdown pass against every NFL team, a 1-yarder to T.J. Hawkinson. So the Lions get a 34-16 win against a Jacksonville team, which, by the way, has given up 30 points in 5 straight games, which is bad. They've gone 5 kickers in 5 weeks, although I hear Josh Lambo's due back. And I'll tell you what are your thoughts about the Lions being able to pull out a win that they had to get, Mel?
I was actually surprised because I think I picked Jacksonville in this game, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I did too.
I was pleasantly.
I did too.
Yeah, I think I was pleasantly surprised. Now I know they come down here and they play the Falcons this week, but yeah, it was a good win. I mean, I think DeAndre Swift went over 100 yards. I think that's a recipe for success.
Right.
Try to limit the number of dropbacks that Matt Stafford has. Run the football well, stop the run. Those are recipes. That's the way to win. That's the way that you can win, because you can kind of control the time of possession and all that. And if you're able to do that, you're able to limit the number of times that they have the ball, and you maximize the times when you have the ball. You have a pretty good chance of coming out on top on that in those types of games.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift had a 54-yard carry. Adrian Peterson had a touchdown. I think he had a couple of touchdowns. So DeAndre Swift looked really, really good. And I got to tell you one thing. He had 116 yards. The last Lion rookie that had a 100-yard game was actually when Kerryon Johnson did it against the Miami Dolphins in 2017 when he rushed for 158 yards. So the Lions had the ball for the better part of, I think they had over 47 minutes. I'm trying, but they dominated time of possession is what they did. And they did take the pressure off of Matt Stafford. So it was a relatively easy win for Detroit. Jacksonville picked up a touchdown later, and Matt Stafford got the media off his back at least for a week, and we'll see what happens in Atlanta. Okay. But Rick, let's talk about the Lions' performance out in Jacksonville.
Well, I had Jacksonville winning that game. I can't figure the Lions out. Every time I think they might win, they lay an egg, and then every time I think they're going to get blown out, they win. So and they won rather easily. And I think I think Doug Marrone is another guy that we have to put on the list for coaches leaving. I think he's going to be gone by the end of the year. They've been terrible. Their defense has been terrible. And for them to lose like that to a struggling Lions team where Matt Patricia's job is on the line every single night, you hear about it. And for them to lose like that in Jacksonville, that's not good for them. So I tip my hat off to the Lions on that win, but I think it kind of showed to me that Jacksonville is not very good.
Yeah, I think that Marrone makes it to the end of the year, and after that, he could be gone, depending how bad it is, Mel.
When are they going to get rid of Gase? I can't understand. I'm watching that game the other day. He doesn't talk to anybody on the sidelines. His head is down on his play sheet, and he's got that little red pen, and he's marking stuff on that play sheet. That's all he does all game long. He talks to nobody. He doesn't talk to the quarterback when the quarterback comes off the field. He doesn't talk to anybody.
Well, he knows.
He pays no attention to the defense. When the defense is out there, his head is always buried in his play sheet. I don't know what he's looking for down there, but he hasn't found it yet, obviously.
He's hoping for Trevor Lawrence. That's what they're hoping for.
We'll get to that in a minute with Gase, okay? Because that's one of the games we're going to talk about. But as far as Matt Patricia is concerned, he earned enough goodwill, and we'll talk with the Lions in Atlanta shortly. But they did get a win that they desperately needed against Jacksonville, and the Jaguars are struggling. But you're right, Mel. The running attack definitely did work in the Lions' benefit, and they were able to pull out a win. We talked about this earlier. Now we're going to talk about it since you wrote Candy pretty hard. Tampa Bay 38, Green Bay 10. And, I think she was glad that she saw the beginning. I actually left the Jaguars game at 5:30 to head back home. So she only saw the best part of the football and didn't have to worry about watching the rest of what would take place. So, Mel, were you surprised that Tampa Bay made it look so easy?
Yeah, it was, because I think I picked Green Bay in this game. I thought the Smith brothers were going to be having a party on Tom Brady back there in the backfield. So yeah, I was surprised. I had a couple turnovers, and next thing you know, it just it's just kind of a snowball effect. I think Aaron Rodgers had 2 pick sixes in that game, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so right there, that's 14 points right there. That's tough. And I was very, very surprised. He did not play well at all. The team didn't look like they really wanted to be there. Just didn't look good at all. It wasn't a good showing at all by the Green Bay Packers. And yes, I was extremely surprised because I thought they had played well the week before. I know they're both angry the week before, right? They both had lost, so they both had something to prove. And they came out. He came out and played terrible. I don't know where his head was.
Clearwater Beach, Mel. Okay, his head was in Clearwater Beach. His body was there. His arm was over at Raymond James Stadium. And guess what? He wasn't relaxing. Okay, he wasn't. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I had Green Bay. Yeah. Well, I had Green Bay winning this game, and I was really way off. I said Father Time was catching up to Tom Brady, and, this is the last of the demise of Tom Brady. And, boy, he must have been listening to me because I think that was bulletin board material for him because he looked fantastic. Rob Gronkowski, well, I forgot he was with them, but, he played well. And I think this is more how – I'm sorry, Candy, but Green Bay just absolutely laid an egg. I was very, very surprised that Aaron Rodgers played as bad as he did. I said he was an MVP candidate. You can kind of forget that right now. So, I think this kind of showed last year what they can do. Last year, they can beat up on the really mediocre teams, but every time they played the really good teams, they seem to have struggled, and maybe that might be their problem this season, that they can beat up like the Jacksonville Jaguars. They can beat up all these teams that they should beat, but when they play like really good teams, like maybe a Chiefs or maybe like, of course, like Tampa Bay, they just seem to struggle. So I don't know what's going on with them, but I was very surprised, and not that they lost. I was surprised how they lost. They were really, really bad.
Well, Green Bay's been reading too many press clippings is what they're doing. Okay, thinking how good they are, and all of a sudden they ate humble pie. So, and then of course Tom Brady doesn't lose 2 games in a row, especially considering the way he lost the Chicago game. So when you get Brady angry, you have a 38-10 Tampa Bay win. All right, let's go into the game where we all got taken and hosed on this one. Pittsburgh 38, Cleveland 7. And they called this a rivalry? Really? I thought rivalries, Mel Farr, are when you're good. Okay, not because you're across the Ohio to Pennsylvania turnpike. I mean, Baker Mayfield got fried.
I mean, it may have been a rivalry at some point in time, but it's definitely not right now.
Right.
I think we all
Jim
picked
Brown
this.
era.
I think we all picked this. I mean, Ben, he's chomping at the bit to get back.
Right.
The Steelers have been playing well defensively. They've been running. I mean, they do what they do. They run the ball and they stop the run, and they put a lot of pressure on your passer with 4, and they will blitz a little bit. So, I mean, they did exactly what we expect them to do, and we all have said that Cleveland is not as good as their record indicates that they are. They're not that good, and they're going to kind of go as they got to be able to run that football. And I know Chubb is hurt. And if they can't run the football, they certainly can't rely on the quarterback. And I think we saw that this past week.
Well, the last Cleveland quarterback that won in Pittsburgh was Tim Couch. So, yeah. So if you can go ahead and count that far back, I don't know how many of the millennials were alive back then. And if I like kicking them around, yes, I did. Okay. But Rick, really, Cleveland.
Yeah, I this is one of the first ones that I had that I picked. I picked Pittsburgh to win this. I said Cleveland is not going to be there. They're going to get blown out. And the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns. There's a reason why they're probably one of the worst franchises in all of pro sports. And already those whispers of should they give up on Baker Mayfield and all this stuff is going around right now. And that's just how Cleveland is. That's why I don't get too excited with them. I mean, they can go 10-0, 11-0, and I'm still not going to believe it. They have just been a dismal franchise. I mean, for people to think that they were a Super Bowl caliber team a couple of years ago, I would laugh at them and say, no, you guys are not. Greg Williams, I think, to me, was the big key loss for them. He really had them going. Baker Mayfield played, out of his mind. They looked really, really good. And then he left. I don't know if he just didn't want to be there or they just decided to go a different direction. I don't know. And they got Freddie Kitchens. But I do think they have a really good coach right now. And they might have the pieces in place. But for them to, I don't know what kind of rivalry they're thinking about. Maybe they're talking about Jim Brown era, but definitely not this era. So, this was not a big surprise, and Pittsburgh is really, really playing some really great football.
Yeah, I think we all did go ahead and predict Pittsburgh. I just didn't think it would be this lopsided. That's all. I'm not buying the Cleveland Kool-Aid. You got me talking about Kool-Aid Curti. Okay. But I felt that Pittsburgh was going to win it. But by 31 points, I don't think so. That to me seemed a little high. All right, Mel, I'm going to let you talk about Adam Gase since you were alluding to it anyways. So why don't you just give me what you told me earlier in the broadcast about looking down here, okay, and looking at the card, not looking at everybody, so that Mel Farr gets to do his play-by-play version on the Sports Exchange about Adam Gase. Go ahead, Mel. Talk about Adam
watching
Gase.
the game, and I don't know what did they play Monday night?
No, they played Sunday and they got smoked 24.
Was it Sunday night?
Sunday. No, they don't get. Come on, now.
I'm just saying. It seemed I was watching it for some reason. So
Well,
I
you were
figured it must have
watching.
been one of those.
Where are you watching the game? Do you have the NFL Sunday ticket, or are you going to a sports bar?
No, I figured they must have one of those. Must have had one of those primetime slots. But anyway, I'm just looking at him, and every time the camera's on the guy, he's got his hat pulled way down, like he's a little kid, and he's just staring at his play sheet with that red pen, with that red marker. Whether his body was facing the field or whether it was perpendicular to the field, I don't understand what he's doing. And he talked to nobody. He never sat down with his quarterback. He never sat down with Flacco and went over, hey, Joe, what are you seeing out there other than a bunch of folks in your face? You know, he never sat down with them. They say, hey, what do you like or anything? When the defense is out there, he's turned sideways with his head down in his play sheet, looking for what? I don't know what he's looking for, but he hasn't found any answers. He hasn't found a good play. I just can't even believe. And so I'm expecting Monday morning he's done.
Really?
And he's still there.
He's looking for a Mel. Come on, man. Looking for a pink slip. He'll get it. He will. 0-16. Trevor
He's
Lawrence.
trying hard to get
Really?
one. And then there was a little controversy with something that the defensive coordinator said. And, in regards, I guess, to the offense not really being very productive. And supposedly he didn't like it. And they had a conversation about it. And you're talking about Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if I was Trevor Lawrence and they had the first pick, I'd go back for my senior year. I wouldn't even come out.
Yeah, I've heard that before from a lot of people.
I put a John Elway and then Eli Manning. That's what I would do. I'm like, I am not going to New York.
Both of you guys are right. I can't debate either of you on this because you're definitely right. But the bottom line is the Miami Dolphins won it 24-0. They were looking to stick it to Adam Gase, by the way, who obviously couldn't develop Ryan Tannehill. We'll get to that in a moment. So the Dolphins were looking to hand it to the Jets, and they did 24-0. So meanwhile, as it would turn out, that would be Ryan Fitzpatrick's last game as a starting quarterback. And now Tua's going to get the starting nod in 2 weeks. I guess we can probably talk about that next week, but he did make a cameo appearance. But as far as Adam Gase is concerned, he's going to collect a paycheck. The Jets look like a potential 0-16 team. I don't know who they could beat the way they're playing these days. That's for sure. Even if Sam Darnold's healthy, they've traded so many good players away. So I'm going to ask you guys this question anyways, okay, while it's a hot top point of conversation. Mel, I'm going to lead off with you. Is Tua Tagovailoa ready to be a starting quarterback, or do you think they should have stayed with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, I don't know. He was out there, 3 or 4 or 5 plays or whatever. I don't know
Right.
I haven't seen him in practice. I don't know what he looks like in practice.
Right.
I've said it all along that they shouldn't play him. Give him an opportunity to heal from that injury.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take look. It didn't hurt Patrick Mahomes to sit all year. I think he started the last game maybe or something like that of the season, and then they moved on from Alex Smith, and it was Patrick Mahomes' team from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Fitzpatrick was playing well, and I don't think that the Dolphins really had anticipated him playing well. So he made it a very difficult decision for them to move on from him to go to Tua. But there was no reason to move on from Fitzpatrick.
Right.
I mean, we know at some point in time there's going to be an opportunity for them to bring Tua in off the bench and spell him, because there's going to be a game sometime in the not too distant future where he wasn't going to be throwing the ball that well, and he's probably going to throw a few to the other team, and they're going to want to change the pace a little bit, and they could have brought Tua in then. This game here was a rout. They were blowing him out. They brought Tua in for one series.
Right.
And then next thing you know, they said, well, he's going to be the starter. I don't understand that.
Well, they're 3 wins and 3 losses. They feel that Tua's accuracy is good. He extends the pocket. And obviously they must have had a plan in place that they were going to do it. I think if they hadn't have gone ahead and beaten San Francisco as handily as they did, maybe Tua could have made an appearance, but they must have seen something with the physical attributes that convinced him that he was ready to go. But 3-3, Fitzpatrick led him to. I think he was a little surprised at the timing. But Rick, do you think that that they're ready to move in the direction of Tua, or do you think that Fitzpatrick should have stayed around a little bit longer?
I would have kept Fitzpatrick. He was actually surprised. I read his comment that he said he was very surprised and almost kind of hurt that that he won't be the starter. But I mean, he understands. But I think even he was taken back. And Tua, he was hurt. He hurt himself in college, and he must have done something. And during practice where they just said, "Yeah, we're ready to move on." I'm kind of surprised by it. I thought they would do it next season, especially with COVID around. Just let him sit there, take notes, and just learn from Fitzpatrick. We already know Fitzpatrick's not the franchise, quarterback there. He's a journeyman quarterback, but he's a staple quarterback. He was playing really good. I can understand if he was struggling, but he wasn't. So I'm kind of surprised by this right away.
Yeah, I am a little bit, but when you look, and from what I hear, the offensive line isn't overly that great either. But you know what? If you're going to make a move though of this caliber, you do it during the bye week anyway, so everybody has time to really assert themselves and get ready for what they're doing. You've got a little bit of time, is what you have. So, I understand that you don't want to have a week now. Now everybody gets acclimated to their role for sure. I see Mel's got a little company in the background, good stuff. So, but at any rate, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But back to Adam Gase, you know what, Mel? It's just a matter of time. I guess we'll have to have the Adam Gase track meter is what we're going to find out about when he's out of here.
He's
So
looking for vacation spots on his little play sheet. He's trying to say, where should I go since I'm going to get fired and collect the paycheck? Maybe that's what he's looking at.
never
Yeah,
know, Mel. I don't know. I thought Mel was the fortune teller trying to figure out what he's looking at because apparently, I don't know, he knows what he's looking at. Here's a guy that's in New York, the largest media market in the country, and he's looking like a real rotten apple right now. So,
right. He might be looking for his next job.
yeah, okay, but it's not going to be a head coaching job anywhere, so we'll see.
No. He's probably looking to be a marketing rep somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills. We got two more games, and then we'll go on to four, and then we'll wrap up the broadcast since Mel has company at home. All right, the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, 26-17. Rick, why don't you lead off with this one?
Well, I think we picked Kansas City to win. I know I did. It was about time that Kansas City, they've been kind of stagnant lately, a little bit, kind of flat. I know Mel talked about about Patrick Mahomes, and sometimes that Super Bowl hangover kind of exists, but I don't think this is a big surprise. I mean, I like Kansas City. They're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, even for his standards, not playing the great, still playing. He's still a phenomenal quarterback. So I like Kansas City. We'll see what happens with them. Like I said, they're the hunted now, and when you're the hunted now, there's always a little bit added pressure. So maybe that's why they've been kind of like little flat now. But it was a good win for them. Buffalo's a good team, but it was a very good win for Kansas City.
Mel?
Yeah, I think that was obviously it was a big time win for Kansas City. Buffalo, a lot of people had some high hopes as far as what they thought Buffalo was going to be able to do this year. And I think they've lost their last two games.
Right.
Kansas City looked good. The little running back, he looked.
Yeah,
He's
Edward
looking
Hilaire. Yeah, I know who you're
he's
talking
looking
about.
to solidify his position. I know they brought in Bell, but they're saying, hey, he's just not going to give up that spot. He wants some carries. He's going to have to earn them. So, yeah, Kansas City looked good all around.
Yeah, these two teams could see each other in the playoffs again. I think Le'Veon Bell will only be nothing but an addition for them, and certainly, and with the young running back they have, they're in pretty good shape. You have to try to make changes where you can to better yourself. All right, well, let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals blowing out the Dallas Cowboys. We talked about the dysfunction of Mike McCarthy. Kyler Murray looked good. Andy Dalton obviously had a tough time. So, Mel, Cardinals walk into Jerry's place and they laid a whipping on the Cowboys.
When you turn the ball over and you don't, when you turn the ball over and you don't get turnovers, it makes it very, very difficult for you. They turned the ball over early twice. Ezekiel Elliott, a couple fumbles, and that put them behind the eight ball early. And then trying to play catch up, they don't play from behind very well. And then defensively they're not very good. They can't stop anybody, and so. Wasn't surprised, really. I think we all picked Arizona in this game, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think anybody.
Dallas, I hate to tell you this during a bad week. I was actually buying into the Andy Dalton that I thought he could do well. And I think Andy Dalton will be a productive quarterback this year. It's just that Arizona had way too many weapons, and Dallas has a poor defense.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter who was quarterback. If Joe Montana was a quarterback and you have that defense and you turn the ball over the way they turn the ball over, it's going to be very difficult for you. It's going to be very difficult.
Right.
Yeah, I had this as a toss-up. I think I picked Dallas because they were in Dallas. I've been saying that the Cardinals are they're not as good as we think they are. And boy, they look phenomenal, which is not good for the Cowboys because the Cardinals are not a phenomenal team. You know, the Dallas got a whole bunch of problems. They can't stop anybody. You know, they're starting quarterbacks out for the season, and big question mark if they can re-sign him and if he can still play at that caliber when he comes back from his injury. You know, and now you got all these players from the Cowboys going to the media telling everyone their dirty laundry right now. So it's not a very happy time right now in Jerry's world. And so they have a lot of problems right now. And the Cardinals just looked they looked great, and Cowboys looked terrible. So a lot of problems with the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, that's what Jason Garrett's missing. All right, let's talk about 4 football games this week, okay? The Lions, obviously 2-3 against the Atlanta Falcons in your backyard, Mel. So just give me a prediction on this game. Do you think the Lions are going to make it 2 in a row? Or now that Atlanta got their first win against Minnesota, so they're in 2 successive weeks, okay, the interim coach got their first win. So we'll see whether or not I think Raheem Morris can get another one under his belt. But why don't you give me a prediction, Mel? Detroit 2-3 against Atlanta 1-5. Who do you got?
I actually liked what Atlanta did this week with Raheem Morris. They made a concerted effort to get the ball to Julio Jones, which, you know, I don't know why you wouldn't do that anyway. I mean, look at what New Orleans does. They make sure they get the ball to Michael Thomas, and he's the only receiver they have, and everybody knows he's going to get the ball, and they still throw it. They still throw it to him. It doesn't matter how many people are covering him. And Julio Jones he's that type of player. Why wouldn't you throw the ball to him? Why wouldn't you get the ball to him? So they made an effort to get the ball to him last week. I think that made a big difference. Obviously, you know, as much as I love my Lions, I'm going to have to pick against them. You know, I don't have no love for the Falcons, but I think the Falcons will win this one. Will win this game, be 31-21.
31-21. Okay, Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the Lions as well. You know, I always said that Atlanta should tank and get Trevor Lawrence, but, you know, they played really good, and I think they're not going to be doing that. I think they're going to be playing really good. I think they want to show people that Raheem Morris is, you know, possibly he can be their head coach. You know, we're always talking about other potential coaches that can go there, but, you know, if Raheem Morris gets him on a roll and he's very young, why not have him as your head coach if they play very well? So, and I'm just not sold on it's just about Matt Patricia. He's just not a good coach. I don't. Lions have been so inconsistent. You know, every time we think they're going to get blown out, they win, and every time we think they're going to win, they look terrible. So, I have the Falcons winning this game, and I'll say they'll win like 28-21, and it'll be a back and forth game, but I think Atlanta will pull it out.
Well, I'll play the homer card. Okay, my homer, anyways. I'll give the Lions a 27-20 win. I will, for no other reason. DeAndre Swift is playing in his backyard, University of Georgia right up the road. Matthew Stafford playing in Georgia. So give the Lions 27-20 win. I know I'll be wrong, and you guys will have the bragging rights over me next week. And if the Lions end up winning, then Matt Patricia won't hear the howling for his job. If they lose, then I wouldn't want to be at that press conference come Sunday night or Monday morning. So 3 more games to talk about, and this one's a heavyweight. Pittsburgh 5-0 with Ben Roethlisberger, Tennessee 5-0, and the game is being played in Tennessee. This is a heavyweight if I ever saw one, between Ben Roethlisberger and Ryan Tannehill. Now, who walks away with a win?
That's going to be a good football game. I mean, I wouldn't care who won. Well, I kind of do. I'd like to. I didn't grow up a Steelers fan. When you're young, you're either a Steelers fan or a Cowboys fan. So I've always been a Cowboys fan because I like Tony Dorsett way back in the day.
Right.
As I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate the Steelers. So I would like to see the Steelers win. I don't know if they will be able to, because Derrick Henry he's a load. He's a lot to deal with. So I'll pick the Steelers 21-14.
What about you, Rick?
I'm going to go with Tennessee. Tennessee looks really good. Henry is, like, to me, the best running back in the league. I love Roethlisberger. I love Mike Tomlin, but I think Tennessee is just a little bit too much, and especially playing in Nashville. So I have Tennessee winning this game like 24-17. And I think it won't be a high-scoring game, but it'll be a really good game. But I like Tennessee in this, pretty much because they're in Nashville, and Henry's just You can't stop him. He's a beast.
You know what, Rick? I had the same identical score, 24-17 in favor of the Titans. And I'm wearing this Miami Marlins hat, folks. Why am I wearing this Miami Marlins hat? Because the Tennessee Titans had an outbreak and they're winning. The Miami Marlins did the same thing. So I'm definitely going to go with the Titans 24-17. Two more games to get to. This one was actually flexed to Sunday night. Seattle 5-0 against Arizona 4-2. This is going to be a really good matchup, and they deserve to have it in prime time. So who you got, Mel? Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray?
Russell Wilson. I mean, he's got he's got a little bit more help than Kyler Murray. You know, obviously I like Kyler and what they're doing there, but he's still young, still trying to figure things out. They're going to throw a lot of things at him. I'm pretty sure Ken Norton, Pete Carroll, they're going to throw a lot of things at him. And, you know, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. I mean, what he did the last couple of weeks, that winning drive that he had was unbelievable. And that play that he made on fourth down, you know, just shows the type of player that he is, and he's having an MVP caliber type season so far. So, yeah, I definitely picked I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I said 31-17.
Rick?
Oh, yeah. To me, Russell Wilson's the MVP of the season. You know, Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, I've been down on this guy. To me, he's another Adam Gase. I don't understand why he's a head coach. You know, he didn't have a good college record, but I guess when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you can get any kind of job. But I'm not going to let go on Russell Wilson. To me, he's the best. You know, he's the MVP right now. To me, no, and they're playing great Seattle. I am not sold on the Cardinals. I think they're a very overrated team, and I don't even have this close. I have it 28-10 Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to go Seattle as well, 35-21, 14 points. I don't care if the game is being played in Arizona. You saw the Detroit Lions took care of the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona, and we know that Russell Wilson's a heck of a quarterback. He's got a lot of weapons. So we have a unanimous here with Seattle. Final game of the night, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4-2 against the Las Vegas Raiders 3-2. Earlier in the week, obviously, the Raiders had their offensive line sent home because of COVID-19. So what Tampa Bay Buccaneers team shows up? The one that went to Chicago or the one that was at home? They'll be in Las Vegas. Are they going to be spending more time in the casinos? Or are they going to be at Legion Field where Tom Brady can bet on his teammates instead of the slot machines, hoping that they're not playing craps? All right, Mel, go ahead.
Well, we don't even know if this game is going to be played. I mean, they moved it to that slot because they wanted to make sure that fans would have an opportunity to have a game on NBC at night.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know. You know, they sent
the game is right now going to be at 4:25 as scheduled. But you're right. They flexed it with the intent the prime game was definitely going to be intact. But you're right. With the way cancellations are going and postponements, who's to say this game will be played? Well, let's just assume that it is being played.
Let's assume that it's played, and we don't know what they're going to have out there for offensive linemen. I'm going to say Tampa Bay wins this game. You know, I'm going to say Tampa Bay wins, and they're going to win probably about 35-17.
Okay, Rick.
Yeah, I have Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay's. I think that was a great win for them. I think they were trying to find themselves as a team. I think Tom Brady was trying to get used to his new teammates, and being Green Bay like that, I think that's really helped them. I think they're going to go on a roll after this. And Las Vegas right now, I mean, the whole team's getting decimated with COVID-19. We don't even know if we're going to have a game. But, you know, speaking hypothetically, if we're going to have a game, I have Tampa Bay winning this game like 28-17. I think Brady's going to have a big game in Las Vegas. And I think the only way Brady will have an off game is if he's out in the casinos too much or at the strip bars too much in Las Vegas. So it'll be quite interesting. But I have Tampa Bay winning this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers 31-19. That's true. I mean, Tom Brady's man, I think, put together a 2-game winning streak. And more importantly, like you guys have been saying, COVID-19 hammered the Raiders. They're bad boys in every single war. One minute they're out there partying, the next minute they're getting hit with COVID-19. John Gruden has it, ... 31-19 Vegas loses. Okay. With that said, okay, that wraps up this edition of the Sports Exchange. Mel, go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
I can be reached on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. That's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Mel Farr Jr. My email address is melfarjr@gmail.com. And then you can check out what we have going on for the youth in Atlanta and Detroit at melfar.org.
Rick?
You can check me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, and I'm also on there at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti, and you can actually contact me on any of those social media websites.
And Rick does a great job here at the South Florida Tribune, making sure that he gets all of our content up there and shared to social media. We appreciate the good work that Rick does. You can listen to this audio version of our broadcast here through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts, where we get your podcasts. I'll say it again. Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, where we get your podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter at Tribune South. That's at Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune Gets It Done. The YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune, you'll be able to see the visual broadcast here, which is right now through the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. I'll give you 6 reasons why you should subscribe. Sports Exchange, No Limits, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, which Rick Curti's on Monday nights. Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, South Florida Tribune Podcast. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. We have the Motor City Monitor out there, which where we have a lot of Detroit, metropolitan Detroit Michigan content up there. Our media distribution partners provide us content, as well as our columnists, and the broadcasts appear there as well. Our email is southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and you can go ahead and find me, Scott Morganroth, on LinkedIn. Mel Farr is going to be joining myself and George Eichhorn Monday night after 9 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be talking some Detroit sports, and we'll be talking about Mel's father, who had a fine career there. So on behalf of Mel Farr Jr., my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, telling you to have a great evening. And Rick, why don't you conclude the broadcast with your COVID message?
Guys, it's getting worse. It's spreading everywhere. You even have people who are coming out who really didn't wear masks, that thought masks were, a joke, coming out and saying, please wear your mask. Someone like Chris Christie, a conservative, wrote in the Wall Street Journal that he was wrong for not wearing a mask, that wearing a mask is the best and safest way to avoid this. Please wear a mask and stop saying people who wear masks are, to shame them, and it's not a sign of weakness. So I think when someone like that, who's a conservative like that, can come out and say that he was wrong for not wearing a mask, people need to listen up. They need to listen to doctors, scientists. Wear your mask, social distance, stay away from parties, less travel, and just use some common sense, because the way we're going right now, we're going to be wearing this mask for the rest of our lives.
Sounds like it. So meanwhile, Mel Farr will be joining us on the Sports Exchange Monday night. Rick Curti, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We'll be talking the World Series. So once again, on behalf of my co-host Mel Farr Jr. and Rick Curti, Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, thank you for joining us tonight. Catch you there next time. Have a good weekend, fellas.
Take care.
Good night. Thank you.